In this video, we'll be reviewing 3 books written by atheists that I think Christians should read. So stay tuned. What's up guys, I'm Josh and welcome to Christian Sophistry, taking apologetics to the next level. And part of that mission is providing you with quality content by doing book reviews just like this one. So if you want to see more book reviews or you just want to see some of my apologetics videos, go ahead and think about hitting that subscribe button down below. Okay, so I already know what most of you guys are already thinking. Why in the world would he recommend books written by atheists? They just want to deceive people away from Christianity because they worship Satan. No, actually, believe it or not, there are a lot of atheists that genuinely do believe that God doesn't exist. Which also usually means that they don't believe in Satan either. And after having admitted and come to the conclusion that atheists can actually be genuine in what they believe, then we can come to an opportunity to understand them on a deeper level. Which is why I'm recommending these 3 books. But quick disclaimer, I am recommending these books for people to engage and understand with a worldview that is often very critical of the Christian worldview. So if you're not well read on Christian content and Christian arguments and well established in your faith and what you believe, I would not recommend these books. Second disclaimer, I express a lot of opinions in this video that could be perceived as kind of rude. I feel like I was faced with a choice between expressing my honest opinions and trying to be as nice as I possibly could. In the end, I ended up deciding that I don't want to deprive you of what my actual opinions and thoughts are on these books, so if I offend you, I do apologize in advance. With that being said, I want to go ahead and jump into the first book, which is God is Not Great: How Religion Poisons Everything by Christopher Hitchens. Before Christopher Hitchens died back in 2011, he was one of the few atheists that brought us good, new, interesting arguments. I did enjoy this book, but since I'm reviewing 3 books in this video, I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into it. As a reminder, I rate every book on this channel on a scale of 1 to 10 in 4 different categories. Those categories are difficulty, uniqueness, importance, and customer satisfaction. So in the category of difficulty, I gave God is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens a 9 out of 10. And I don't think Hitchens meant for this book to be difficult, so I should explain. First of all, he assumes that God doesn't exist. He does bring a lot of evidence to justify his thesis that religion poisons everything, but he doesn't really justify his statements a lot, which he just kind of assumes to be true. It becomes a little difficult when you assume the thing that you're trying to justify is true. Second of all, he's kind of offensive. If you can get past the anger that you will inevitably feel when reading this book, I think you'll find that you actually agree with Hitchens on a lot of different things. In this book, Hitchens takes a bunch of minority examples of extreme cases of religions that all of us disagree with and detest. And he uses those instances to represent the whole of Christianity. We'll dig deeper into that in a minute, but the third thing that makes this book a little bit more difficult is that he's British. It's very clear in his writing style that he comes from a very different linguistic culture than most of us are familiar with. But it's even more apparent in his audiobook where he narrates his own work. And now in the category of uniqueness, I gave Hitchens an 8 out of 10. Simply put, this might be the only book written by an atheist that I appreciate for its good arguments. I do agree with a lot of his arguments and criticisms. What I don't agree is that the things that he is criticizing is representative of the whole of Christianity. It's not that Hitchens is entirely wrong. He takes some of the most extreme cases of religious distortion and he criticizes them for the evils that they are. Where I think he goes wrong is when he takes those things as examples and says this is what they believe, all of them over there, those Christians. And I'm over here just like, no. In the category of importance, I scored this book a 9 out of 10. Here's the thing about debate. It's only useful if you allow opposing positions to expose your weaknesses. Once we can embrace the fact that atheists aren't always inherently wrong about Christianity by virtue of being atheists, then I think we can become much better apologists. The importance of this book is not just getting to know non-believers' arguments, but also being able to recognize when they have some good points. I think we would lose all credibility with non-believers if we relentlessly defended Christians regardless of whether or not they were right. And I do think that this book helps us not to do that. And finally, in the category of customer satisfaction, this book scored a 9.2 out of 10. I do think other people liked this book for much different reasons than I did, but nonetheless, I think this book got the rating that it deserved. I know I spent a lot of time reviewing this book specifically, but I do think it's the best one and it's my favorite one out of the three. Moving on, the next book that I want to review is The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. Okay, I hate that I have to review this book, but the most militant of atheists basically worship this guy, so I do think that the book merits a review. In the category of difficulty, I scored this book a 5 out of 10. I'm pretty sure that the point of this book is to turn as many people away from religion as possible, so Dawkins is not about to make this a difficult read. But I do think that the blatant hatred and anger that he shows towards religion kind of makes him less convincing and makes this book more difficult. In the category of uniqueness, I scored this book a 4 out of 10. I would have liked to rate him higher, but this book is unique in all of the wrong ways. It's a book that's written by somebody who's not a debater and makes no attempt to postulate the Christian worldview. And at the point that you're not accurately representing the thing that you're criticizing, I can't respect that. But a lot of people seem to like it, so he must have done something right. I don't know. Check it out for yourself. In the category of importance, I scored this book a 6 out of 10. Strictly because of the widespread readership of this book and the high regard of the author, I do think that this book merits at least a skim. And finally, in the category of customer satisfaction, this book scored an 8.8 out of 10. Obviously, readers were more satisfied with this book than I was, but it is what it is. For the last book that I want to review, I'm just going to go ahead and read off the cover because I don't want to butcher the name more than I already will. Why There Is No God. Simple Responses to 20 Common Arguments for the Existence of God by Armin Navabi. I do think that it's pretty clear that the author of this book hasn't had any formal training in argumentation or debate. He's just not very good at using evidence, and his logical conclusions aren't as airtight as he needs them to be. This guy isn't nearly as high profile as the last two authors that I reviewed, and I've met plenty of regular atheists that can argue better than this guy. But I do think that this book is representative of most of the atheists that you will meet. So I recommend this book as a practice guide to become familiar with atheist arguments or to just practice engaging with them. So let's go ahead and jump into the ratings. In the category of difficulty, I scored this book a 4 out of 10. I think it's supposed to be an easy read, but the logical conclusions that he makes and the evidences that he cites is just a little difficult to read it and realize that it doesn't mean what he thinks that it means. In the category of uniqueness, I scored this book a 1 out of 10. I would have loved to score this book super high and then say something snarky like, it's just amazing to see how somebody that has no idea what they're talking about was able to publish a book. But that just seems a little more rude than I'm already being, so I guess it seems a little better to me to acknowledge the fact that I know that I'm being a jerk. But I do believe that he genuinely believes in what he's writing, but the truth of the matter is, he just doesn't bring anything new to atheist arguments. It's the same cookie-cutter stuff that has been regurgitated by atheists for decades. In the category of importance, I scored this book a 5 out of 10. I do think this book can be really useful for Christians that aren't familiar with arguments from atheists or just want to practice engaging with them. And finally, in the category of customer satisfaction, this book scored an 8.8 out of 10. This one did surprise me until I actually read the Amazon reviews on this one. Even some of the 5-star reviews admitted that his conclusions were a little meh. I think it's pretty clear to everyone that this guy isn't exactly the best debater, but neither are a lot of atheists. And I don't mean that to be a knock on atheists or the author, but most atheists haven't really had any formal training in argumentation and debate, and I do think that this book represents most of the atheists that you will run into. So it's a good and valuable book, and it's super short, so go ahead and pick this one up. So those are my thoughts and recommendations on books that are written by atheists. So if you want to add any of these books to your library, go ahead and click the links down in the description below to support this channel. Otherwise, that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.